In this lesson, we're going to look at the most basic quadratic function, which is f of x equals x squared. There's no adds or takeaways after or any more x's, just f of x equals x squared. Now the numbers we're going to choose to put through this function are between -3 and 3, and then we're going to draw it out. So, if firstly we're putting -3 into the function, we're going to do -3 squared, which is -3 times -3. And that is 9. So when you put -3 into this, 9 pops out, so you can write it again as a coordinate, where the input is the x value and the output is the f of x or the y value, is easier to understand. Let's put -2 into the function, so we're squaring -2. Now -2 squared is equal to 4, because it's -2 times -2, so positive times positive. So in your brackets you would have -2, 4. Next we'll put -1 in here, so -1 times -1, and that comes out to be +1. So your coordinate, if you like, would be -1, 1. If you're popping 0 into this function, it would be 0 times 0, which is just going to come out to be 0. So again, coordinate would be 0, 0. 0 going in, 0 coming out. Now, if we start to put 1 in, then we're going to do 1 squared. We're putting 1 up here, so 1 times 1. And that comes out to be 1, which is exactly the same as when you put -1 into it. And if we watch what happens with 2, if you square 2, you do 2 times 2 and you get 4, which is exactly the same as when you put -2 in. And the same with 3. When you put 3 squared, you get 9, 3 times 3, which again is exactly the same as when you put -3 in. So in terms of coordinates here, we've got 1, 1, 2, 4, and 3, 9. Now the interesting thing, if you plot this out on a coordinate diagram, is you end up with this quadratic shape. So here's 0, 0, here's 1, 1 if you like, and then 2 along and 4 up, and 3 along and 9 up. On the other side, if you go back -1, you still go up 1, back -2, you still go up 4, and back -3, you still go up to 9. And that's why the shape is symmetrical, because when you put the x values in, and then you put the negative x values in, they give you the same y values. So that's what forms the quadratic or the parabola shape. Let's look at another example, this time with an addition of 1. So what happens when you do f of x equals x squared plus 1? So when we just did x squared, it looked like this. It went through the origin at 0, 0, and went up on one side and symmetrical on the other side. So let's see what happens when you put a plus 1. So you put -3 in first, so -3 squared, and then you add 1. So -3 squared is 9, and if you add 1, you get 10. So coordinate -3, 10, instead of -3, 9 last time. When you put -2 in, here you do -2 squared, and then you add 1. Now -2 squared is 4, and you add 1 you get 5. So the coordinate's -2, 5. And last time it was -2, 4. When you put -1 in, you get -1 squared, add 1. Now -1 squared is 1. If you add 1, you get 2. The coordinate -1, 2. I think last time it was -1, 1. And when you put the 0 in, which last time we went through the origin, but this time we're going to do 0 squared, add 1. Now 0 squared add 1 is 1. So instead of going through the origin, it's going to go through 0, 1. Okay, let's put 1 in. So 1 squared plus 1. Now 1 squared is 1. And if you add 1, you get 2. And again, we can start to see this symmetrical pattern happening. You can see the 2 there and the 2 up here. So if we look underneath, we put 2 in, we're going to do 2 squared plus 1. Now 2 squared is 4, and if you add 1, you get 5. So that one was 1, 2, and this one is 2, 5. Again, there's a 5 up here, 5 down here. If you put 3 in, you get 3 squared plus 1. And 3 squared is 9. If you add 1, you get 10. Again, 10 down here, 10 up here. So really what's happened to the parabola, if you like, every value's moved up 1. Instead of negative 3, 9, it went to negative 3, 10. That's because of this plus 1 at the end. And crucially, instead of going through 0, 0, it goes through 0, 1. So the whole parabola has been shifted up 1 place. And the same idea happens if you put a plus 2 in the end. The whole parabola will shift up 2 places. And if you put a takeaway 2 at the end, it will move down 2 places. And a takeaway 3, everything will move down 3 places.